That was just the beginning. Nero, who murdered Paul and Peter, following him, Domitian exiled John, and then Trajan and Marcus and Septimius and Maximus and Decius and Valerian and Valerian. But finally, Diocletian was the worst. And there were 200 years. And the reason I say that is because hard times are really on the horizon for us because of this. The invention of this connected, the portable electronic device connected the world. And now these are being tracked everywhere. And in fact, I was buying gas in Chiang Mai, Thailand, with my phone in my pocket, and Bonnie was in the car. I stuck the gas thing in after I poked in my card, and I instantly got a text from Chase saying, "Is that really you in Chiang Mai?" As I was putting the gas in, they were checking my credit card and got me on my cell phone. Unbelievable. Hard times are on the horizon, so what should we do? So here we are. Those of you that kind of slumped into, I already know this. How do we get ready? Well, I say this. We get ready by surveying the whole Bible. It should be your goal that you have not read through the Bible because you're supposed to, but that you have actually interacted with all 1,189 chapters of the Bible. That should be a life goal. If you have a bucket list before you go to Machu Picchu or climb Mount Everest, you ought to say, I'm going to read all 1,189 chapters of the Bible devotionally. So you see there, get ready by surveying the whole Bible using the devotional method. Now, this is my personal method I use. Now, if you want to read about it, Rick Warren's very first book, Rick Purpose-Driven Warren, he was not famous when he wrote his first book. His first book is called Bible Study Methods, 12 Bible Study Methods. That's his first book. Sell it on Amazon. It's about $20. Do you know what the very first Bible study method he describes? It's the one that all the devotional writers have used that you've ever read. F.B. Meyer and, A.T. Pearson. All these people use the devotional Bible study method, which is this. You write a title for every chapter you read and a little summary of it. In other words, you in your own words, not for your English professor, but you read the passage through, you summarize in one sentence and add any context, any other contact with historic, grammatical, whatever that you find. So that's the first thing you do, and that's just a sentence or two. Then, this is the heart of it, you find as many lessons and truths and doctrines as you can find. Now what I do, I always carry a study Bible with me. Now that we're on the road, I carry my 4.5-pound MacArthur Study Bible inside my phone because they weigh our bags. You can only have 17.5 pounds in a carry-on on international carriers in between cities. And so Bonnie and I have electronified everything. So we take our study Bibles, or you can use, all kinds, Blue Letter Bible, Logos. But you find those lessons. I'm going to show you mine right now. And then you write an application prayer. Now, I practiced this when I was pastoring in Kalamazoo. I had 10 small groups, 30 different men. We met once a week. I spent every morning at 6-something, I was with one of these groups. And every afternoon I was meeting the working ones, at lunch or on their coffee break. And we went through the 52 greatest chapters of the Bible doing this for 2 years. But let me show you my journal. I typed it out, and I have exactly, you guys are supposed to be really gone, dust up the trail by quarter after. And so way before that, I'm supposed to stop. And so I have at least 10 to 12 to 14 minutes. Here's my journal. First, I read through 1 Peter, and I titled every chapter. And here, what God did through Peter. Live in hope every day. Submit to God. You've already seen this. Talk about Jesus. Expect persecution. So I did that. So see, here's my journal. I wrote 1 Peter 1 title, Living in Hope Each Day. Now every time, I always keep adding to my title, as pilgrims and strangers. Look what it says in verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to the pilgrims. And immediately I started thinking of, look at chapter 2, verse 11. Because I read this through, I saw it. It says, Beloved, I beg you, as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust. And then back up from 1 Peter, Hebrews 11. And it says in Hebrews 11, if I can find it, pilgrims and strangers. Oh, there it is. It's in verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but saw them afar off. They were assured. They embraced them. They confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims in the earth. So see this? Chapter 1 is all about what a pilgrim and stranger looks like. Then I wrote my little summary. Peter was writing to the heart of the Roman Empire. That's that geography. The place where everybody was watching once a year. these cities Peter was writing to, you had to walk through the forum and get your certificate that you were a good Roman citizen. Now, the slaves didn't have to do this, and the prisoners didn't, but all the citizens of Rome had to get a certificate, it's called a libelli, that said they were bowing to the emperor. And all you did is you'd walk single file. There'd be a Roman legionnaire there. There'd be the town clerk. There'd be the person passing out the slips. There was a little bowl of incense, and there was a little fire. And you just walk by, pinching between your fingers, just like you would get a pinch of salt, in some cooking show. And you would sprinkle your pinch of incense over the flames. And you know what incense does when it hits flame? It just goes, it's just like a little puff of smoke. And I mean, this is the entire population of the town was lined up. And they were coming through, they gave their names, so they were checking off who they were. They'd get the thing, they'd go like this, they'd hand them the slip and go on. It was very easy to do this and blend in. But what happened is, Christians said, I can't declare Caesar Augustus, Domitian is Lord. Only Jesus is. And so Christians started coming up there and saying, I can't. That's what prompted the massive persecutions. So everybody was watching if you were a good, loyal, observant follower of the emperor. And if not, it was the one spot in the whole world of the New Testament where it was hardest to live for Christ. It was here there was the most... See, they didn't do this incense thing everywhere in the empire. This was kind of the stronghold. Roman Asia. This is where the biggest temples were. This is where it was most Roman of Rome. And this is where Peter was writing. The most intense pressure existed for conformity to Rome. And Peter describes the life of a pilgrim, which we read just now in Hebrews 11:13 and 1 Peter 2:11. By the way, who is Peter? I even had to spend time to reassociate myself with Peter. Now, I made this chart just because I go overboard on everything. The chapter of Acts, the Roman emperor, the Roman governor, the date, the events, and who was the focus. And you see across the bottom, Peter is kind of the focus of Acts 1 through 12. And, the emperor stays the same, and the prefects stay the same, and all the events, But look at this, something happens in chapter 12. Peter kind of moves out of the limelight, and Paul becomes the focus. And so basically, from that and all the other stuff, I made a little biography of Peter. I said the life of Peter would have 3 parts. Each era of his life speaks of his love for Jesus. In the gospel I marked that he was writing in this time period, he's talking about how to walk with Jesus. And that's, when I teach through Mark, I love teaching through Mark, I say it's walking with Jesus. And it's the fastest moving of all the Gospels. In the book of Acts, the first 12 chapters, we have a record of Peter working for Jesus. But from Acts chapter 12 on, Peter's out of sight. I mean, he shows up briefly in 15 at the Jerusalem Council. He shows up a little bit in Galatians 1 when Paul rebukes him. But we don't know anything about Peter. He's out of the limelight. What's he doing? From Acts 12 onward, through the epistles of Peter, we have Peter waiting for Jesus. And that's why I love Peter's writings. It shows how to wait for Jesus when you're not the center of attraction, not the one everybody's hounding. I mean, Peter just continued serving the Lord when Paul took the spotlight. And that's hard to fade out when someone else, when you were the main one. So